learning.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's still up on the website. I haven't taken it down.
Were all the tables represented
Mm,
on the website?
Pretty sure. Might have missed somebody from SQL Saturday, but I don't think so. Yeah, that's everybody. Yeah. But if you want to look at them or get a list of them, you better do it quick because I'm about to put that up for code camp in the next like 2 days. So, or you can always just email me, the second list.
Yeah, I talked with one of the vendors about a particular product, and I remember some of the details of the product. I don't remember who I talked to about it.
They should all be there. Okay, I started the recording. Where did it go? Sorry, the podcast. So we don't have an official topic today, but I did put my laptop here. We can start asking some questions about various different things. But I'll go over our normal things anyways. I'll go over our events coming up. We'll all introduce ourselves. We've got some snacks. And we'll just, again, kind of have another roundtable discussion like we did during Christmas time. And then work on our next month, getting a presentation as well. So, introductions, probably the first thing. Everybody go around. Chris is not here, so Mike, we're going to start with you.
I'm Mike.
Name, how can I say this?
Mike Tudor. I'm working with SQL Solutions Group as a DBA consultant and general troublemaker.
Okay.
That pretty much covers it.
Yes, I'm up. Brandon Priest. I'm the manager of the DBA team at Sorensen Communications.
Okay.
I'm Andrea Allred. I blog at royalsql.com. So I work for Summit Materials as a database administrator.
My name is Wayne Nickel. I'm a database administrator at overstock.com. David Warren, also a database administrator for Overstock.
Or you're in the wrong group. Not that we don't mind having you, but.
Ollie Martin, database analyst at ARP Laboratories.
Okay. Go to the back.
Elliot Setzer. I'm unemployed ever since I've become.
Lars Rasmussen, database something. DBA at Health Equity, and really like operational and automation stuff.
Thanks, good. I'm Daryl Hendrickson. I'm a developer at Health Equity for Lars on a regular basis.
Chris, did you just walk in? While you're eating.
My name is Chris Davey. I do big data and do competitive development currently.
I can vouch for Daryl's T-SQL Kung Fu, by the way.
Then he needs to come and train. Get up here.
He's actually already got a presentation.
Oh, he had it.
You just walked in, so you get to introduce yourself now.
Okay, I'm Kaylee Smith. I work at Health Equity. I'm a SQL report writer.
You made it safely in the rain, thank goodness.
Yeah. Deluge outside, which it's January and it's raining. I'd rather it be snowing, but.
You and me both.
So with my snowboard.
It's snowing in the mountains.
Yeah, it is snowing in the mountains, so you skiers and stuff, you don't have to. Like I said, I do expect you to work tomorrow, so.
Wednesday's
Wait,
open.
you don't give him powder days?
That should be part of the
If
employment.
that means the
negotiation.
powder his nose, no.
No. They're powder days where like if there's
Oh,
a good
huh?
snowstorm, you get a powder day and you go.
Those are called
If he
sick
actually,
days.
Yeah, those are called-
got the work done, he would get a powder.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Sick of work days.
Yeah, if he actually
I
got
just
the
can't
work
see
done.
myself coming to work today. I got a problem with my eyes.
Okay, so upcoming events, so that everybody knows what are the big upcoming events. Start with SLC. I hope everybody's heard about this. It's coming up. I'll bring up the website for everybody here. I'm going to plug my thing, but there's a lot of other great things as well. So Start SLC is actually 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And there's lots of great things going on, lots of different presentations, there's workshops, there's a pitch competition, there's a hackathon, there's all sorts of things going on down at the Gateway all 3 of those days, okay? Most of it's all throughout the day. You just come down here to startslc.com, you can find the whole schedule, and it's put on by lots of different groups, not just Utah Geek Events and not just Start SLC, but lots of different groups. So mine in particular, what I'm going to be putting on is a family technology day right here. If I click on register, it'll take me. We're just about to open up some more tickets to this because I filled it up. But basically, we'll have a nice big giant room and we're going to do some presentations for kids on how to get started in programming. We'll probably have some gaming discussions, things like that. And then we'll also have kind of an open expo where they can go to different stations and look at different types of technology. Maybe a few 3D printers, maybe some transistor things, all sorts of different things like that. So we're trying to finalize that all in the next about 2 or 3 days. I've got a rough schedule, but it'll all be up there in the next week or so. And it's all free. The whole idea is to get your whole family there, not only for your kids, but for the adults as well. And then also, again, during this is going on, if your kids are old enough to stay there, you can go to some other session in Start SLC. So there's women in technology sessions, there's, like I said, there's a pitch competition, there's all sorts of things going on in Start SLC.
What age group are you looking to have at this? Kids?
I'm trying to, it's really hard to say because kids can be different depending on their age, depending on what they do, how they're brought up. It's really hard to say. But my goal is somewhere around 8+ is a lot of what the sessions are going to be about. Some of the sessions that are actually going to say they'll probably be 10+ or something, where they're actually teaching a coding session or something like that. I'm going to put on every piece of the schedule what is the suggested age for that. But the Open Expo Hall is kind of open to any age group, really. I mean, we do expect parents to really be there with their kids if they need to be with their kids. That's what's important. I'm not there to babysit kids, so if the parents need to be with the kids, they need to stay. And as I was mentioning to Andrea, the Discovery Gateway will be giving us, I think it's a $4.50 coupon for everybody that day to go to the actual Discovery Gateway. So if you wanted to spend the morning in Discovery Gateway or something and then come to the expo hall afterwards, you can do that. So you can spend time in the Discovery Gateway at a discounted price. So those are all options
And
as
it's
well.
cool. It's way cool.
Yeah, Discovery Gateway is a great, fun place to learn and do things. So there's a lot of great advantages to it. But like I said, if your kids need supervision, even if they're 9 or 10, then please have supervision. The people there are not really there to babysit, they're there to teach and to educate your kids. So does that answer the question? It's really hard for me to say. But we will put what we feel is the suggested age on every one of the sessions that we list. And that schedule should be out by the end of the week. And you can happily go to one session or go to one expo hall thing and then leave and come back. We're not keeping you there all day or anything. Or if you want to leave and go look around the Discovery Gateway for a while and come back, that's fine too. That's the whole idea. So that you can go to other sessions that are going on and Start SLC at the same time. And you can see what all those sessions are right here. See, there's a good Git class, cybersecurity hackers information, sustainable startups. These are all going on Saturday. So you can click on any one of these and register, and some of them have a fee, some do not. It just depends on who's putting on the event and what you're getting out of it. But it's a great time to be basically down at the Gateway that weekend. It kind of corresponds right with Sundance, but we're doing this basically to show Utah as a big technology area, and that's why we're doing it at the same time. So that's Start SLC coming up. And that's more on the 31st. Now, on the 20th, do we list it here or do we don't?
You did.
No, that's different. That's where it was. So on the 20th, I don't know, everybody should have seen from the newsletter, I've sent it out there several times. There's a presentation called Utah Big, I'm gonna say it wrong. Oh, I get to see where I know. No, that's wrong. January 20th. Go. Grab a snack and have a seat. We're just chatting about the upcoming events. So Utah, state of data. We're trying to show Utah as a big data state, as a state of data basically, because I don't know if a lot of people realize there's a ton of data that comes through Utah. We use a lot more of it than everybody else, not only because of the giant MSA facility out in Trademark, but because our state as well. Did anybody notice that the Open Solid portal got opened over Christmas, right, the first of the year? There was a new law passed, HB 37 or something like that, that said the legislature has to put a certain percentage of their documents online and open and available to use. You can get to that from, I think it's openutah.gov. Let me go out to utah.gov and let's see. There's a new open data portal that has tons and tons of documents and data all about our state, all about different things that you can do, all from the state of Utah. And Utah really is much farther advanced than many other states in getting this data out. So it's really cool. It's, you know, I'm not a huge person on the political scene or anything for state, but I gotta give these guys hats off to how much data they've put out there for us to use. So this session on the 20th, let me get back to it, is a little bit about that and a little bit about just what we're doing in the community as well. Myself and Nick will be talking about the air quality competition and the things we put together there, what we're doing in Big Data Utah, and we'll have a panel of a lot of different people talking about data in general. So if you're a data person, I mean, even if it's not big data, if it's SQL, Oracle, whatever, if you're a data person at all, this is going to be a great place to go and talk to other people and hear about how these other people are using data within our state. I think you'll be shocked to learn that the state really does a lot of really cool things with it. I mean, we do have some of the best medical community around too, with the researchers up at the ARUP and at University of Utah and all of that, the cancer institutes. So we're going to be talking about this all on the 20th of January, next week, next Tuesday. You can see it right here. There is a small cost to it, but it's well worth it. Like I said, you're going to get a lot out of this from the different people you talk to. So that's coming up on the 20th. The other events coming up, so the 20th, the 31st, and like I said, these are in the newsletter usually. SharePoint Saturday is coming up in February. I'm trying to remember when that one is too. You can see how organized I am that I can actually remember these things. No, that was the last one.
Third link down.
What? Third link down? Hey. February 28th. We're hosting that at the Spencer Fox Eccles Business Building where we do the code camp. If you're into SharePoint at all, this is the place to go. Definitely learn a lot of great things about SharePoint. We're putting this on Utah Geek Fences, so I'll be there. We'll help organize it. If you do anything with SharePoint, that's the place. They might still be taking calls for presenters, so if you're interested in presenting, let them know. You can get their email just right there. You can come see me afterwards too. And the last event I need to mention is Code Camp is March 14th. We'll be opening registration and call for speakers in just a few days. We're way behind, but we are looking for presentations. We are looking for attendees and everything that we normally have for Code Camp. Code Camp really focuses a lot on the developers, but at the same time, database people are more than welcome, and we always have some sort of database sessions as well. We'd love to see those sessions as well. Developers need it just as much as database guys do. So, Code Camp's open to any technology. It doesn't matter what you want to talk about, as long as it's technology related, you can go to Code Camp and you can present on it. Okay? And that's March 14th. All right. Anyone else have any other community announcements or anything that's coming up? Anyone have any positions open? I haven't heard of any recently. Yes?
There's still two at UTA.
Okay, there's a couple of UTA DBAs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing in 3 months.
Okay. Anybody else have positions open in their companies that are hiring currently?
Ellie, what are you looking for now? My database experience is kind of unusual. Second one? Yeah, I've done coaching and some other just
What do you want to do? Sorry to get on the spot.
I mean, yeah, I also, like geographic information systems and stuff. Yeah, I'd be interested in learning more about that.
Okay, yes.
I am actually looking for a position or information. I used to come here a lot until my company switched to MySQL. And now they've announced that at the end of the month, they're switching me from an employee to contractor. And I'm looking to get back into SQL, but more in the reporting, data warehousing areas, which is where my interest is. So if anyone knows anything that could provide me where I could get more training, the company really restricted what I was allowed to do for years. So I need to catch up quick.
Okay. Some good places, Pluralsight would be a great place to go to get some
What's that?
training. Pluralsight does monthly or yearly options for online training. Really great content.
SQL BI too.
SQL BI is a great place, yeah.
What's that, free one, Jason Street was working?
Pragmatic Works.
Yeah, they have a lot of free
Pragmatic Works, yeah. Pragmatic Works is another great place to look for. There's a lot of blog posts and things like that.
Brent Ozar also has some free stuff out there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube channel. It's really good.
Brent Ozar.
Although I think that's more.
Your last name.
Sorry, Ozar, Ozar, Brent Ozar. They're a lot more SQL Server, but they do have pieces that will cover reporting and analytics.
Robert Half has had quite a few of the old stuff on SQL Server jobs positions over the last 6 months. Robert CR England as well. More of the and you can make the jump into SSRS without a problem from a lot of the old stuff.
That's what I figured, because all I do is start coding in database.
Yeah, so, and then if you want to send me an email too, I can let you know if there's anything that I've seen, but I haven't seen any. Pat Wright, yeah, maybe I didn't introduce myself further too. Pat Wright, I run the SQL Users Group, run Utah Geek events, and manage database administrators at Merit CX now in Central Regions, so I can give you a card after this.
So on the employment front, can anybody recommend or blacklist certain recruiters?
I can.
Okay, so hold on. Let's not publicly blacklist, because this is being recorded too, and I hope to future have sponsors, so.
Can anybody recommend?
STG is a great company.
Yeah.
And then I also Tech Systems too. I had good luck with both of those.
And you can't go wrong with my friend and partner, Nick Bagley from Ambient Staffing, obviously, because he's.
But what you need to
run all the
do,
groups together, so.
Pat, what you need to do is you need to find out from the position that they post of the different recruiters that are out there when they post positions. Because some recruiters might have an in with one company and they might not have an in with another company. So they may suck for this company here, but they may be great over here. And so you need, the value of a recruiter is they can get you in front of the hiring manager. And so once you figure it out, where you think the job is, then go to the right recruiter, because not all recruiters are equal for all positions. That makes sense.
STG will work with you to try and get into companies you're interested in.
If I could say something as a recruiter, very honest, work with every single recruiter you can, because he's right. Every recruiter has different relationships with different companies, but do two things when you do that. Number one, keep a spreadsheet or something of where they talk to you about, and make sure they tell you specifically, or you ask them specifically, are you sending me to this company or not? And make sure you write that down, because if you have more than one recruiter send you to the same job, chances are you're going to get axed.
Disqualified
Because
immediately.
they don't know where you're, the hiring manager will say, this guy doesn't know where his resume is. So work with as many as you feel comfortable with, but keep track of where your resume is going, and make sure they don't blind submit you anywhere. Make sure you tell the recruiter, hey, I don't want you blasting my resume out. I want you to talk to me about the job so that I can tell you if it's a good fit, and then keep track of that. Now, the second thing is, don't sign any exclusivity agreements, because they're garbage. Everybody in Utah works on contingency, just about. Meaning, I as a recruiter don't get paid until I get the deal closed. So if a recruiter is asking you for money or asking you for exclusivity, unless it's a really good job they have access to that nobody else does, don't do it.
Well, the other thing is our recruiters here are, because we have such a good IT industry here, do not go out of area. You don't need to. And these recruiters that are from, hate to say it, India, don't work with them. Oftentimes they're throwing your resume over the wall and they're going through another person that's submitting. And your rate will be, I've seen it, 20 to 50% lower than what you can get through any other recruiter locally. So never go through an outside recruiter. Always go to.
Yeah, I would, I don't know. That's hard to say too, though, because it's hard to say who's outside and who's not. Robert Half is one of the largest technology companies on the planet, recruiting companies on the planet, so.
Well, but Jason Metters is they're one of the best recruiters nationwide.
My point is you should do your diligence on your own recruiters on your own time.
Yeah, I would say there are good recruiters and bad recruiters, whether they're in state or out of state.
Yeah,
Just keep track of them. Look at the ones you like, give them referrals, and keep track of where they talk to you about so that they're not blindsiding your resume.
Thank you.
Okay, so, any other announcements or anything? Otherwise, we're gonna open it up to questions, basically.
Just in addition to that, there's a site called Coachable where you can put on your information if you're interested, like you're not looking for a job now, but they might be able to steal you if the deal was good enough, so.
What site is that?
Coachable.
Haven't heard of that one.
LinkedIn is Monster 2.0.
Exactly. You keep your LinkedIn profile updated enough, or just update it every once in a while? Yeah.
I don't know what LinkedIn wants to be yet.
Neither does it. But it has a lot of data and it has a lot of different technology that it wants to use. Yeah. I mean, you can. One of the best ways to start getting people to come to you, or if you're looking for something, is update your LinkedIn profile, because as soon as you update, you're going to get hit by a lot of different things. Not to mention, like when I changed my company, where I went to another company, I didn't actually change companies, but I put in my new information. I got 30 messages or something like that from everybody to let me know. So it's a big thing. So definitely LinkedIn is obviously a place that you should have your updated information to as well. And I really suggest to anyone that you always have a LinkedIn profile. I don't care if you're looking or not. You should always keep it up to date. I mean, that's just good social networking. Don't worry about the whole aspect of getting a new job, but keep that up to date and keep that accurate. You should always do that.
Well, and that way you connect with people and you never know when those connections are going to be valuable to you.
Exactly. So, okay. So let's open the floor to questions, though. We are broadcasting, and I'll try to find out if anybody's got any questions on there as well. Although it might just be one of my guys watching and nobody else. We'll see. One viewer, that's probably. But what questions do we have around SQL Server? Because again, I do not have a formal presentation this time, but we've got plenty of questions I think out there that people can ask about, and we can either demo them or we can try to answer them. Yes, Mike?
Just because I happen to be working on this right now, I've got a server, standalone server that's old, aging out. I'm going to move it to a cluster. Currently it's on 2008. I want to move it to 2008 R2 while I'm moving it. And the methodology that I've thought about using, and I've done some reading, says I should be able to do this, is take the SAN disks that are currently on the old system, move them over to the cluster and bring them online and just reattach the databases. Now, so there's two things there happening. Obviously, I'm reattaching the databases, but I've also got to upgrade them. The reading I found said that I needed to do a create database with attach. Can I just do an attach? Was that just
Attach will automatically upgrade them.
That's what I thought.
So the question, so that people online here too, is that if you have a standalone, or if you have a SQL Server system and you take it from one version to another, if you detach and reattach onto a new version, when you attach, if you ever get a chance, do this too, have fun. Do it on your laptop or something. But when you attach, you'll actually see it. It will spit out system messages that say upgrading to version 190, 192, 193. All the little pieces, it must upgrade it. Now, the key thing there is that as soon as you attach it, you can never go back. So once it's attached and it's on that new version, it's not going back to the other side. And I do mean ever. So make sure you have a backup in the old version if you need that back. But as soon as you move from one SQL version to another, you cannot go down at all. There is no possible way to go down.
Even from 2008 to R2, you can't go back.
Yeah, even, well, anything.
Yeah.
Really, once you make those structure changes, you can't do it. The other big thing to do is that, and this was more in the past, I don't think 2008 R2 matters as much anymore, but you should always update stats after you do a version because the optimizer has changed. And whenever you change versions, you should let the optimizer know that everything's new. So you update stats on all your databases whenever you change versions. So after you do the attach, update stats.
I always do update usages, but I'm not, to be honest with you, exactly sure what that does.
It probably doesn't do all of it. I usually typically do a full update.
I do update stats as well.
Yes, sir.
When you attach a database from an older version of SQL Server into a newer version of SQL Server, yes, it will upgrade the version, but as far as that metadata, but the compatibility level remains the same as it was before.
Another great point to bring up too, that's an excellent point, is that we did this when we moved from 2005 to 2008. There was a ton of compatibility levels in our system that were still set back to the 2005 version. Because when you restore the database, even when you restore or you attach, it doesn't change that compatibility level. So you'll see that sometimes too, is that people will say, well, I moved, but I'm still getting errors trying to use this special function that's in 2008 R2, and they can't. And they can't because the compatibility level is still the previous version. Yeah, good point, Lawrence.
Easily.
What? Yeah, you can change it. You can change it whenever you want. You just go to options and you change it.
And that one, I believe you can go forward and back.
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Compatibility will change from 2008 to R2.
Yeah, because we've changed it back and forth a couple times.
So if you go forward, you have problems, you can go back.
Yes. But again, the compatibility level affects how it uses some of the functions, how it uses some of the features, but it doesn't change. When you do that attach, and you say moving versions, when it changes some of the underlying data in the data structures, the compatibility level doesn't help you there. So you can still run into problems. You can move from 2005 to 2008, run into a problem, and you may not be able to switch compatibility level and go back to it. There's certain things that can't go back through compatibility level. It just depends on what those are. And there's nice lists out there in SQL Server. If you look through the books online and stuff, will tell you what really gets affected, but that's where you should read up on. But you can move the compatibility level whenever you want.
I've had some really, really bad things happen by changing compatibility level. For instance, like I had a database when it was in one compatibility level, get like for instance, like a date time 2 date column type put in a table, and it just let me roll it back to date but date times 2 still existed in there. And so it's like, it gets in this funky limbo land if it doesn't know if it's this or this. And I just, in my opinion, if you need it in a certain mode, you should not upgrade the database.
I would agree. I would agree. When you upgrade, you should move to the next compatibility level. You should go there and you should stay there. I would not flip around too much back.
Yeah.
They did also, I was reading about it today, it did also say that you should put it into at least single user mode if you're going to be changing that, because it can be in the middle of compiling plans, or it can mess up its plans if you're changing compatibility levels.
That's interesting. I've never put one into a single user mode to do it.
Flush the cache.
It does make sense to be safe. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it's really a switch you should sit there and have fun flipping back and forth.
For me, compatibility level is kind of like no lock, you just don't do it.
Yeah, I've seen way too many times where you have to. So great question. Yeah, anytime you attach, don't plan on going back. Make sure you got your backup. So, other questions? What has anybody run into in problems too in the last week or two, or over Christmas? How many people had a no alerts Christmas? What? You lucky people. Terrible.
Change moratorium.
I can't remember. We had a change moratorium and we still had an issue before Christmas. Yes.
Where I work at, I have to deal with different databases from Amazon, and especially I have to pull data out from SQL. I have a lot of problems with the stability connecting SSIS to MySQL. Connections are dropped constantly. I found that that free driver, although it's free, it works for short queries, especially with extended ones. I end up, some of the ones that end up taking longer to execute, the connection drops constantly. Is this something you guys found that it's more of a network instability, or is the problem you guys knowing how the drivers to connect to MySQL?
So I'll repeat the question so that they hear online. So question of the SSIS connectors to MySQL, have we seen issues with them dropping connections frequently or not staying online to connect to the data properly?
Because as soon as I try again, the jobs are all set to retry and they try successfully, but it's just that constantly throughout the day, the connection gets dropped mid-data flow, in the middle of the data flow. So
I'm going to blame MySQL, but that's just because I have a person in front of me.
I'd love to, but it's just that I have a bunch of touchy users. I have to be very sensitive about that. But it's just that, has anyone worked with that? I'm willing to pay for a driver if it offers more stability, but it's just that right now I don't know who to chase. So I go to my network engineers and say, the stability here sucks to this place, or is this a driver thing?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to say without knowing the driver. I mean, we did a connection from SSIS to MySQL. I don't think we had any problems with it, though, did we?
No, any of them we did were mostly network also.
They were network issues that actually caused the drop.
So it's
Yeah.
network.
Yeah, I would, you know, my
In
first
that case,
thought-
it was, but those were really long too, like
Yeah.
25 plus minutes.
When it went that long, that's when it would have an issue.
Those are the only times it would have that big issue.
Yeah, it's really hard to say without the driver. I mean, there are some other drivers out there to try. I know that there is some paid ones that you can actually get. I can't remember the name of it. We looked at one when we were doing our system as well, but, yeah, I don't have a good answer there. Maybe what you could do to test is do something like, instead of connecting across a driver, maybe just play around with files for a little bit, copy them back and forth. Maybe write something that does nothing more than copy files and see if the network's having issues because of it, you know. Copying large pieces of data back and forth, trying to test it. Something to try to isolate which part of the system it is, because it's hard to tell.
See if you can get
running the net stats. See if there's any problems there, what those statistics show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Something like that, trace routes, net stats, see what your ping times are, you know, see if you can. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the network by any means, but I also don't, usually it's not that big of a problem.
Well, if it's the net, I'm hoping that it's on the network because that's a lot harder to chase around because it works sometimes and it doesn't work other times.
Yes.
I don't know if there's some secret maintenance, they're rebooting routers without telling people. They're shifty people.
CNSA.
You try to do a trace route?
Some of them are within the same data center and the other ones are connected to Amazon. But it's just that, the thing is just that neither one is better at.
Oh, okay.
So this is why I was hoping that somebody had a magical driver that.
But there's not going to be a magical driver, I'll give you that.
Hey, one can wish.
Is it just with MySQL that you're having the trouble with? Or are there any other databases outside of SQL that you can run tests on?
I have a couple of SQL Server databases, and this is a SQL Server group, but the connections are solid there. It's just MySQL is the one that's I'm struggling the most.
I mean, there's a possibility it's a configuration of some sort too on MySQL that has some sort of timeout related to it. But again, it doesn't, the best way to do it is start running tests against that system and isolate it. Or like I said, that's why, like you said, with another SQL Server, maybe go to files where you're taking that out of the picture. It's happening, not the actual relational database with the driver, it's something else.
Or could you run like smaller import batches, so they're more
They
often
are
small?
small. They're actually, we do incrementals from the last incremental ID, and then we run them on a hourly basis. They're usually 1,000 rows, maybe 2,000 rows at that point, which is not a big deal, but it's just that, it's just throughout the day, I just look at it, lost connectivity, and that's a little hard to fix.
Are you hitting a production database, or are you hitting a standby or a offline, or?
I am actually hitting a replica of the MySQL databases now. Most of the cases are in Amazon, and the thing is just I don't even know if I'm hitting different versions of them. That's another base MySQL.
Have you tried to open another client and keeping it open, like MySQL Workbench, and see if that'll stay open that whole time?
Yeah, I'll try it.
That's
You could log that too, use some of the native MySQL tools, and, just run a job on that, run it every so many seconds, whatever, and then write out the timestamp, and, do a basic, something equivalent to select that version, that hits the other side, write that back to the local side, and then just keep running that. And you're using native tools at that point, so you got kind of a native MySQL team, if you will, and a whole world type of thing. And, if you use native stuff, that stuff will pull it out. It's the same kind of thing that Pat was talking about with copying files. You could use like a robocopy /Z that automatically restarts, and hit a big file and your directories /mir. And then when you do that, you can put another script on that deletes the file every so often. So you have to force a recopy. And it'll just continuously run. And then you spit that out to a log file /log. Yeah, I use robocopy a lot. And that way, when you look at the log, you can find the timestamps, same idea as having a continuous MySQL thing.
Okay.
Well, I think it's
That's
record
great,
when those incidents happen, you can show like your network team or something like that, like, hey, this is what is the problem.
They're looking for a volunteer to manage all of their MySQL databases, and I'm trying to stay out of that.
Smart man.
Somebody.
We don't be voluntold, so.
But anyway, no, these are great ideas, thank you. This is actually helpful.
All right, other questions?
Pat, I'm working on a database that has about 50,000, 175,000, that range of queries that have nested views all using the same table. Is there any tool anyone knows out there that can help speed up the rewrite process?
So the question is hundreds of thousands of queries are running against one nested view, and you want to remove that.
Well, I might have table employee in view X, Y, and Z, and they're using X, Y, and Z all in these with all the same keys, so it's not giving me any advantage. I'm not doing anything specific with it. It just has to. The query just has to be Don't have a problem with views, but the queries just need to be resimplified, rewritten, and all this. Is there any tools out there that anyone knows of that can rewrite queries like that?
You're talking about the lower end, we don't want to go that route. A tool to rewrite queries, no, that's called a DBA.
But 50,000 is not there's just no way you can do it.
Well, no, I'd probably suggest a new architecture or a change.
Fire employees, yeah, but.
Either way, what you're talking about is just rewriting or fixing that performance. You could use something like SQL Century Plan Explorer and SQL Century Performance Explorer to tell you where all the problems are, but it sounds like you already identified the problem.
Yeah.
You just have to actually go down and fix it.
Where are the queries? Where are the queries stored?
Stored procs. Stored procs and embedded SQL.
You could rewrite your view and then dump out in text the entire database and go through and change. So you create a new view with a new name.
Yeah, but you're right.
You can go through and edit each.
But if you have a view, if you have a stored proc and it's referencing view A, B, and C, and they're all referencing the same table, and they're in the stored procs, this is where you have a view that was properly created, but .NET developers and Delphi guys have just bad SQL code.
No.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Well, I used to do this before you and Kurt used to wrap me upside the head for doing stupid stuff like that.
There's not a one single thing that can be done. I mean, Mike's right. You could search. You can search right now through the database and find all the places.
Oh yeah, we already got them identified.
We already know that list, right? Now it's just the time of actually writing it.
And testing and all
It's not
this.
just a rewrite of the view, then you have to change the code.
We have to change the code. That's the
Sure, if you
problem.
wanted to speed it up, there's probably 3 or 4 people in this room that would consult and write it for you faster, or a price, I'm sure. But no, I don't see any other way besides getting hands-on and actually rewriting these pieces. Or like I said, find a new architecture that you do it differently than what you did before, and then migrate to it. other options as well.
Or you can strict out all those stored procs and then just do a global search and replace.
But that's
what we're,
Yeah, it's
These things
not
more than
fixing
just-
it, it's just renaming it to something else. It's still gonna be a problem if that's how you design it.
and see, a lot of these developers have been gone for years. And so you just can't, axe them because they did crappy stuff. But they're still out there and they still get called, but they're burdening
The
performance.
same people go to one company after the other and just leave their crap on.
You never know a good developer until after they leave, but you know a bad one immediately.
All right, so other questions we have? What about anything professional and related? Let's think about something fun. What are your favorite, no, you be quiet. What are your favorite things to ask in an interview?
I had a great idea, which is kind of mean, but
I want to hear it. I'm going to use it on the next one.
so I think it's the perfect interview for a DBA, where you just bring him in, you sit him in front of a server, his hands-on or a laptop, it's a hands-on test. Have them start writing some query, they'll get some error message. Oh, sorry, forgot. Need you to drop that database. And if they do it, if they look at you twice and do you really want me to drop the database, then you should keep talking to them. But if they immediately just drop it, they're out the door.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to use that one.
My favorite question is everybody, and you have to phrase it this way.
Okay.
Everybody has a weakness. What is yours?
Okay.
Because then you're saying, I know everyone has a weakness. Tell me what yours is. And then I judge based on I watch their body language first, because a lot of people go, and so I want to see how they're going to react when I'm asking them a direct question about them. And then also how they're going to come up with a creative answer that still doesn't make them look like a bad person.
Gummy bears, in case you're wondering.
Gummy bears are your weakness? It's a good weakness. I don't disagree with you at all. It's a good weakness.
Truthfully, though, one thing that I've learned over the years of interviewing people is fit is harder than experience. And so I have, over the years, started to ask less technical questions and more personal questions, because I would rather have a better fit on my team and train you up than have a great technical person, but just rubs everyone wrong.
I would agree with that as well. I tend
Yeah.
to ask more professional and
Gotta have
more
both.
personal questions than I do of technical.
I ask people's favorite movie too, because
Yep.
that tells me a lot about them.
Yep.
25% of job searches now are looking negative stuff on things you post online as well.
Yes, sir. Just follow-up
Someone with
questions
experience.
to that, because I agree, as someone that's been recruiting for 15 years, fit is the toughest thing for me to determine as a recruiter, but 99% of the time, people hire people they like. It's just the way it is. So my question is, how many interviews typically does it take to figure out fit? Because that's not an easy thing to figure out by just asking a couple of questions. I mean, you can determine a bad fit quickly.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, maybe not, but how many interviews for a manager does it take, and what types of interviews to figure out fit?
I think a lot of it depends on your willingness to be open in that interview when you're interviewing them.
As an interviewer,
As the interviewer, I think the interviewer will set the tone for that whole thing. And if they're open and their body language is open and they're trying to dig those emotions out of that person, they can get fit in probably 2 interviews.
I also think that the quicker you get the person out of I'm being interviewed mode, the better to learn fit, because when it's the back and forth questions, I think they stay more on the defensive. But if you just have a conversation with someone, it's much better to gauge that, much easier to gauge that.
I would say those are both skills that most interviewers don't have.
I would agree. Yes.
I agree.
You had something to add?
Yeah, my favorite answer to an interview question is I don't know.
That's good.
If I can get somebody in there who says, I don't know, that tells me that that person knows that their skills have limits and that they're humble enough to admit that, and you can work with that. That's huge to me.
And I'll find out.
That's the same type of thing. But to me, I don't know is a great answer. Don't try to bluff me.
amazing how much an interview is like a presentation. Yes.
Well, if I may, a couple of stories. Because I think the technical part is also really important. We hired a guy who had we didn't really give him a really technical test per se. In fact, I developed a test after this because he had the answers for relatively light technical questions. He got in there, we hired him as a contract to begin with. It was contract to hire. It became evident to me within a month the guy had no clue. Not only did not know SQL, and he was hired as a DBA, he had no clue how to analyze systems or do any of that stuff. And when we hit him up with that, he just got mad and didn't try to fix it. But anyway, we ended up letting him go. And actually it became a situation where we had to walk him out the door, and I was given his computer and said, go through his computer and find out what he's got on there. And this whole file he had of DBA questions and answers. So he'd memorized all these answers. Anyway, since then I created even a simple question. I had a simple question where I've got a table with 3 rows and a table with 5 rows, and I wrote a Cartesian product and said, how many rows are you gonna get back? 75% of the people that are applying for DBAs will not get that question correct. And so that was
So the
a
technical
story.
side is-
What's that?
The technical side is important as well.
Yeah. Story number 2 is I helped interview this guy who was coming as a developer, and we liked him, thought he was great, hired him, gave him an offer, and after we made the offer, he called us and said, I'm really interested, but I have some concerns. Can I get together again to discuss? And my boss said, sure, and he grabbed me and 2 other people, and we went to lunch with this guy. And we get lunch, and he asks his questions, we go through all this stuff, and after he gets comfortable, he starts talking, he starts saying, yeah, I just have this problem with working with people that are incompetent. And it went from there to, he's been known to yell at people, he's made people cry, and he left, and my boss sent him an email and said, sorry, we've decided we'll go somebody else. So you never know, I don't know, those are just stories with.
So you're gonna.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and as clients sometimes will ask us, or we'll give them advice on how to interview or how to find the right fit, especially on the development side, and I'm sure this can work on writing SQL as well. We always tell our clients, whiteboard. Put them on a whiteboard, have them actually write code, but go at it with an open mind. Know that there's not always just one answer. Do the whiteboard so that you can see how they think, and let them talk their way through the solution to see if you can work with this person.
Well, and I don't think you make them really hard questions because people get.
Right, they get everybody's nervous in an interview, no matter how many.
What I tend to do is, so I cheat, honestly, because being the member of the community that I am, I know most of the people. And honestly, if I don't know you, I can look you up through 5 other people that worked at a company that you did. So I cheat. But the other part to this is that I typically go to lunch no matter what. I want them in a social setting at lunch because that is very important to me. That's more important than the technical aspect, is that social aspect of how they do. The second piece of that is when you whiteboard, I ask, okay, we're designing the system, and I'll typically give them a system that somebody asked me yesterday. Somebody walked up to my desk and said, I need to design this. I'll say, go and design that for me. On the whiteboard, same thing. How would you design the system? How would you put it up there? What would you do? And I would make them whiteboard because 90% of my day is doing that. So I expect them to be able to do the exact same thing on the whiteboard. So take real situations that you have and give them to them. Don't give them false things too much. Give them the real situation. Why not? You want them to come work, it's the real thing. You were gonna.
I was gonna, if we're ready for the next question, I have another question that has to do with the same subject.
Anything else on the interviewing process, or we'll go into it tomorrow? Okay, go ahead.
So, and I would like to hear answers both as a manager reviewing a resume and as a candidate preparing a resume. The big buzz right now, and it will continue to be, is video resumes. Not video interviewing, video resumes. How do you feel about a video resume as a candidate and as a manager reviewing that? Because we've been talking so much about fit. What are your thoughts on that?
Video resume, how do we feel on candidate?
Terror because it's new and different, but wow, that sounds like a good idea.
I think hiring would love it. They do it. Video resume, for me, I would be fine with it. I would.
You're speaking as a manager or as a candidate?
As a manager, as a candidate, I have no problem with it because I've done plenty of presentations via video, so it's not that big of a deal for me. I think a lot of people would have a hard time with it as a candidate to put that together.
Yeah,
It'd be a
to
hard
me,
thing.
that's really intimidating as a candidate, because I think, I've got a few things against me. I'm a woman, I come off really stupid in person when you first meet me. It's so true.
That's not true.
Not when you have that crown on.
Yeah.
I'll totally disagree with her on this.
But like like when you're initially talking to me, most people think I have no idea what I'm doing, and then they start getting into the technical stuff and they go, oh, she gets it. It's like a light bulb kind of comes on. So I know I come across stupid, and that's why I usually only go work for people that I already know, because they get that I'm just a little quirky.
The other thing I want to add to the manager part, as a manager, the other thing I would worry about is I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, I do video editing, things like that. I know what can be done with a video. And so you can make someone look really, really good inside a video resume. So even if they were kind of bad, you could do something that would make them feel much better.
We just pay somebody to make it look really good.
Exactly, and that's
Kind of like
where
a professional resume writer for a paper resume.
exactly. That's
But if you're looking at, if you're an XYZ company and you want to get a better job, one of the best things I would tell anyone to do is you talk to Pat or talk to Aaron or one of these user groups and start presenting on 2-3 times a year as recruiters and everyone else gets to know. That's the same type of thing you're talking about, and everyone gets to see you up in front of people reacting with other people. And I've known several people that have presented over the years. They have worked themselves into better positions, not because they are so technically skilled or so good at what they do, off their presentations.
Yeah, something to add.
Well, one is about the video resume as a potential employee. I'm not fond of them, mainly because, I've done multiple interviews going into different companies as well as being an interviewer. And I found every single company has a different way of running their interviews. And so how do you prepare for that? Whereas at least you can look over a paper resume and say, oh, yeah, I meet this criteria. But if you're somebody who wants to focus on this area first and that person in their video resume kind of comes on a different area, you might just be rejecting them for something they don't know, something that's different than what you're looking for, and they have no time to correct that.
I agree with you, but it's the same exactly on paper resumes. Some paper resumes are so focused on, here's what I want to be, that they get looked over as well. So I'd say it's a catch.
Well, the advantage of video I see is most resumes these days, if you send them directly to the company, you're not using recruiting, gets killed by HR who are technically illiterate. And a video resume is going to go straight to the hiring manager. They're going to see it. They're going to get to deal with it right then and there. And you're going to skip that HR process that might miss a great candidate because the resume is not that great.
I don't know that it's skip HR.
Yeah, how would it be treated any different?
HRs, if you don't mention a lot of buzzwords, if you don't have something that is a buzzword because you just didn't mention it, how many recruiters think that in the .NET world, they say C#.net or whatever? Come on, visual, everything these days is .NET if you're talking Visual Studio. And these recruiters don't know the difference.
But yet, if everybody became a visual resume, they're going to get just as many people that say, well,
Because you're going to have the same problem with video or paper.
I don't even have time to look at them, so.
And it also comes down to,
It's still such a new emerging thing that anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Sometimes sometimes it depends on the company that you're going after. Like some companies would rather than you tell them what you can do, they like seeing quirky things. Or they like to hear, hey, this is the project that I just worked on. It's almost a precursor to an interview, which a resume should be anyway, but it's, like I said, it's still, there's no standard yet. Kind of there's a standard in paper resumes, quote unquote. I mean, because every interviewer likes different resumes too, even if they're with the same company. But video's kind of the same way. It's just, it's still emerging. It's still, people are trying to figure it out.
I personally kind of hate resumes for all they're worth. I mean, they're necessary evils. They haven't found a better way around it right now, but I still don't like it because 9 times out of 10, I look at a resume and I'll just say, well, they could be qualified, they could not.
How much of that is real?
Exactly. I mean, it's more like I just want to get to the interview phase than even bothering with the resume too. But it's necessary because if you get 80 of these things for one position, you have to look at them a little bit. I mean, it's got to happen.
And as someone that sees a lot of resumes, the first thing I do when I get a resume is I go to LinkedIn to look at the profile.
Right.
I want to see if it's the same. If they're saying the same thing in a resume that they're saying online. And I go to their Twitter account and I see what they're talking about. And I do all of those things to see if, what's valid and what's.
For me, all I do is go to LinkedIn and then find out who else I know that already knows them and just qualify.
Yeah.
That's blindsided me. We hired a guy 2 years ago that is still around, and I still want to go kick the guy that said, "Oh yeah, he's great. You should hire him," because he is the hardest guy I've ever worked with ever.
Well, luckily I have a lot of honest.
And it wasn't even like, oh, I want to get rid of this guy from working with me, so you take him over there. This was like 2 companies ago. He worked with this guy, so it was just like previous history.
I bring this up because YouTube is the second most popular search engine in use right now after Google. It's YouTube.
That's kitty videos. That's kitty videos.
Well, it could be. That's what I but I'm saying everything is going visual. Twitter has changed to where everything's, video clips and vines, and Facebook has gone that same way. At some point, I'm not saying it's going to be in the next 5 years, but you never know. At some point, resumes will be video resumes.
And again, right here, we have HireVue is making a business entirely around that idea of you do a video presentation and then they rate based on that, and that's your resume. That's how they do it. Video.
When I used HireVue last time, they asked me for the 5 questions. Here, what 5 questions do you want your prospective person to use? Because I used it HireVue 2 positions ago, and they said, "Give me 5 questions. I'll have them answer. We'll send you the video." And that was helpful because I gave them the questions I wanted to answer. But
yeah,
truthfully, the thing
attached with it too.
The thing that scares me the most about video resumes is I've kind of gotten to the point now where I can decide within a minute or 2 off of a resume whether I want to continue going forward with the person or not. If I got to watch 80 videos to decide, that's going to take me hours, where I can get through resumes a lot faster.
And again, that goes back to HireVue's model of let's do a video interview where you get 5 questions.
Yeah.
My recruiting company, not the one I'm with now, but another one that's out of business, we were a guinea pig for HireVue back 7 years ago when they came into business. And I hated it as a recruiter because my first thought was, this is so discriminatory. People are going to look and say, oh, it's a woman, or it's a black man, or it's someone that's ugly, or someone that doesn't comb their hair the way I like. But if you think about it, everything today is the same way because you just go on LinkedIn or Twitter and you can see a picture of them anyway.
Yeah.
So it has changed. I think it's something that it's going to happen.
Well, they would have eliminated you in the interview process anyway if they were going to be discriminatory that way, right?
Yeah, and I like to comfort myself at night thinking, well, those are companies you don't want to work for anyway.
Absolutely.
I don't know, who knows?
Well, no, that's where you'd be a bad fit.
Right.
Yes, Lex.
Could you talk more about your cheating approach?
Okay, so the cheating approach is really, really simple. What you do is you start presenting and helping out your local community. And then you can cheat more and more because you get to meet all these wonderful people and you can find out whatever you want about anybody else. I always tell my boss, a perfect example is a lot of us have a local reach right here. Brandon mentioned, some of us have worked for 2 or 3 companies together in different spots. The Solid community is very, very small. It's not that big. I seriously can go to almost any company around here and I can find someone that I've worked with or that I could work with in the past. But my network also goes nationally too as well, from being a past board of director. I know a lot of people in other states and other countries. And we had a person that actually in Texas. And I called my friend that works in Texas. And I said, hey, do you know this person? He's like, we laid her off 2 weeks ago. And he said, no, that's probably not somebody you want to hire. So, I mean, it stretched that far too, just by going through that sort of thing. So really the cheating process and that sort of thing is, as I tell everybody, is be social. Social networks, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as you mentioned, those are all checked. Not only be social, but come up and present. Presenting is the best way in the world to get a job, I guarantee you. Because 1, you're seen as an expert. 2, you get all the skills you have to do every day. Every day you have a developer or a DBA or someone else come to your desk and ask you a question. Presenting is no different, it's just a bigger audience, that's it. So if you can present, you can do your day-to-day job. It's not that hard. And the more you do this, the more you get seen, the more you get known, and that's how you get more of those job positions. I have not interviewed for a job position in my last 3 jobs, and that's been over the last 7 years. I have gone to lunch with every one of my job positions. I have not interviewed one time because they knew about my work in the community. They knew what I did. My work is very well published online and in videos, so there's no question about what I can and cannot do. So that's all we did to do it. Yes.
And I don't mean to dominate, I apologize, but we finally talked about something that I understand. I just to reiterate what you said, you'll never hear a recruiter say this, but I'm different than a lot of recruiters because I've been doing this for 15 years. I always tell people, explore your own network before you go to any recruiters or apply to any jobs. Explore your own network, talk to people you've worked with, et cetera, et cetera. And I tell clients the same thing. If a client comes to me and says, Trevor, find me a SQL Server DBA, I'll say, okay, tell me what you've already done. Have you talked to your own employees? Have you exploited their networks? Have you talked to people you've worked with in the past? Because if you haven't, why are you going to pay me a fee? Because I'm going to put a ton of work into this. I'm going to find you 3 great people, and you're going to say, oh, you know what, we found somebody from our own internal referral. And I'm going to be ticked because I put all that work in. So as a candidate or as a client, always exploit your own personal and professional networks first. Recruiters are for hard to find positions, hard to find people. That's why we get paid.
Probably one of the best recruiters I've ever seen volunteers her time at all the geek events. She's no longer recruiting, but Carrie do. She had her pick of every single person she wanted, and she knows how many people have gone to these events, and Carrie doesn't know they're known by first name. That's what every recruiter out there has done, but most of them don't know, wouldn't know you if you saw them on the street.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it is
Let's
about
not
your
say
network.
most of them, because that's like me saying most DBAs don't know anything about SQL.
I would agree with that.
Let's say the bad ones.
Yeah, I would say
There's too many bad ones.
There's a
Just
lot
like
of
there's
great.
too many bad DBAs.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, this is our group, man.
I'm a part of the group, so it's our group.
Yes, that's right.
So a really technical question to make the recruiter be quiet. No, totally kidding.
Speak when spoken to. I'm used to that.
It's fine.
Yes, Mike.
Sort of related, I was at SQL Pass, and at the Dell booth, they were doing these little 5-10 minute talks from different people, and I saw Brent Ozar was going to talk, so I thought, I'll listen to what Brent has to say, because that was really entertaining. And he really quickly just said, the best information he'd give you on using social media, and this is for our use, not for hiring, was it's not necessarily important how much content you put out there. He said it's who you talk to, and he said basically the best thing that he's ever seen is find the people that you want to talk to and that you want to know who you are, get their Twitter, and reply directly on their Twitter. He said the last 2 people that he hired, he already knew them when they started, and when he talked to them, because he'd seen their Twitter replies back to him. They didn't do a lot of Twitter. I mean, some of these people, I don't know what they do all day. They're writing 24 Twitters a day. I don't have the tweets a day. They do 2,000 a year maybe. But
yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, and the same with the users group, knowing everybody that's sitting here. I've said this, I say this at the bottom of every one message. Come to this users group, even if it's not a great content you want to see, so you can network with the other people.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make the difference. The people sitting in the job in the future. Every position I have, every person on my team, except for one, I have hired through some sort of users group that I saw them talking to. And that's because I know that's those people already. I know what they're doing, I know what they're working on, so I know those things. So it's definitely a reason to come all the time and be social.
And be nice.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah, like,
not be nice.
shut up.
One more interview question I thought of was tell me about the time when you stayed up all night working on something.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. So my number 1 interview question, the easiest, if you ever want to pass an interview with me, the easiest thing in the world, I have very simple question that matters to me more than anything else is, what wakes you up in the morning? What is the reason that you get up in the morning? Because I care about passion and your drive more than anything else. So if you can convince me why you get up and what reason you get up for, then that's what's most important to me. If you're there to cash a paycheck, which I've literally had somebody say to me, I'm here to get a paycheck and get a job, they were not asked back. So that pretty much ends the interview if they do something like that. But if they are passionate about what they do, that matters to me more than anything else. Just like you've heard me say when presenting, be passionate about what you do, it shows. That's what makes the difference. Because then when you have to stay up all night and fix something, you don't care as much.
Well, and if somebody can't answer that question right away, that's a bad sign.
There's a lot of things I use about it, but that is by far the most important to me. Yes?
One of my favorite questions is, what is your greatest accomplishment in your career? And a lot of times, the answer is, oh, I graduated from such and such place, or this or that. And really what I'm looking for is, what have you done with what you know that you feel is a great accomplishment, and what did you do to get that? And education, which is great, is not the greatest accomplishment. It's, I implemented this application, and I did such and such, and I had to do X, Y, Z to get there. And I grew because I didn't know how to do this, right? That kind of thing.
How do you work with a pain in the ass employee is one that is,
I don't know if I'd ask that one. Right?
no, I've seen it, I've asked it, and I've been asked that.
So I have a question for you, Pat. With your question, if somebody came back with an answer that had nothing to do with work,
I would still, that doesn't matter. It's not about work. It's about what wakes you up in the morning. You can have passion for anything. What I want is passion. Now, I want them to have passion about what they're doing as well. But if your passion is, I want to become a professional race car driver, well, that's great. But you're probably not going to work here, but that is a great passion to have as well. That's my point. I want to see that you have passion. That's what matters. And then it goes to the right, well, obviously it goes to the right place. It goes to work at some point. So, because my typical jobs and what I do, and with everybody here, we don't work 9 to 5. We don't live 9 to 5. It doesn't just work that way. So having passion in what you do is going to make the difference between someone that's really upset about being called Saturday afternoon or someone that's okay with being called Saturday afternoon. It's going to make a difference. Sooner or later, it's going to make a big difference. And over again, when you're called every Saturday afternoon, that really wears on you. We've all been there. So
Sometimes my servers just need a hug.
I really hope you go in there and hug. Next time you do, please take a selfie of that and post it.
They don't allow me in the data center, so like I have to virtually hug them.
Will's got a question.
Will's got a question. Okay, let me go to the, did he post it on the page?
Just say, check your question. Check his question.
All right, interview question. Interview question, can you tell me the last time you used a cursor or while loop in SQL 1.4? I like that question. He's facing
Just
that
to
right
piss
now.
Will off, that's why.
What?
Just to piss Will off.
Yeah.
That's why.
So that's a good technical question, something like that. And, whether or not you can get an answer that actually, is it valuable, is it not, every time.
Sounds to me like you're just gonna get dismissed if you tell them a reason why you used it.
Yeah, right now, because he's fighting a bunch of them right now, so.
I still say there's a tool for every something for every tool.
Yeah, see, I think that's important on a question like that. You're gonna have to say something like it depends, because you can't say never on some of these situations, although he's probably yelling at you right now, I'm sure he is. Because he'll say never.
It's his own fault for not being here in person.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will.
No, you're not.
Say,
Maybe that's his boss.
say he doesn't mind, but it
That's
better be
probably-
legit.
Better be legit. Okay, other questions, other technical, open, yes.
Always on.
Always on, yes.
You have a primary replica and a secondary replica. Most times your first secondary replica is the one you're gonna follow to fail over to. How do you handle the SQL agent jobs on that? Because when they fail over, you can't have them running on the second replica all the time, otherwise you get things suddenly twice.
So the question is, how do you handle the SQL agent jobs on the second replica, not the primary replica, but the second one for the box?
So
That's
we
one
have
I can't
written,
answer.
the first step of every one of our jobs is check primary. So we have a script that tells you whether that server is primary. And if that step is successful, it goes on to do the rest of your job. And so, and what we do on the other side, because I don't want to get a bunch of alerts from SQL Server saying the job failed all day long. So I actually, the first step is set. If it fails, it's successful, but it still sends an email if it failed. So I have it coded to say, if this query fails, send me an email. But the agent thinks the job's successful if that step fails.
So that's how it sounds like you have to check. In other words, you have to program that and check.
It's the biggest thing that Microsoft has missed on with availability groups is not syncing users, linked servers, and jobs. It is a pain. It's a pain.
Sounds like good presentation.
But the funny thing is that if I do something similar with my reporting services, it's smart enough to say, oh, I'm on a new server and my jobs aren't there. I'm going to publish them all.
So I cheat on that one. My system databases, I just replicate the volume at the block level instead of messing with availability groups. And so.
Right, so you're doing a block level replication.
Yeah, we used to do that.
Yeah. So why did you guys move away from that?
Because my failovers have went from 2 or 3 minutes to seconds with availability. I can be on my secondary in a matter of 5 or 10 seconds where, like with a failover cluster instance or block level replication, I got to turn this off and turn that on and attach these disks. And that took 20 minutes to go through that whole thing. I can be from my primary data site to my secondary data center in 20 seconds failed over, we're back up.
That's great.
So it's just fast.
I guess my main question is I know you have to check to see if it's a primary or not before you run it. But how do you get it to return something so that when you look at the history of the job, you don't see errors?
You have that step be, you can do if this step fails, do this. If this step is successful, do this. You have that return that is successful. On failure, report success.
So the query that he uses to check is an entirely another step in every job.
Yep.
Right.
Every job has that step, and that step can be set to go further down and keep going or stop. Stops, it still says I'm successful, even though it stopped.
Yeah.
You can also categorize the jobs, give them all a certain category, and then set them to disabled unless you're on the primary. And have another job that sets them to enabled if it becomes the primary that you just run on a constant basis.
Yeah, you can do that. A way to batch create it, kind of so you have one job that manages kind of everything. Instead of doing it every single one, you could have one that did it.
The bigger pain for us on availability groups is if you change this job, you have to remember to change that job.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they become unsynchronized. And so, they come forked. And we actually had that problem not too long ago where our node failed over and this database came live and and we started getting weird results. I was like, what the heck's going on? And we ended up finding out that one person made a job change here and forgot it over there.
Did you use CMS for that?
Nope.
Okay.
Can't, because you actually have to remember in an availability group, all your nodes have to stay synchronized, and jobs are not one of the things that stay synchronized.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's kind of a failure, is that they made it as an availability group that, hey, you can fail to this, but it's not everything.
It's a completely separate instance of SQL.
What if you synchronized your MSDB? Would that fix it?
I don't think you can.
System databases can't be in availability.
Sounds scary.
We haven't used availability groups, so that's why I have all these questions around them.
Availability groups are awesome, but there's a lot of things, there's a lot of maintenance to having an availability group, but they're hugely successful, at least where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. They're very cool, but they're very dangerous.
Well, for me, it's a matter of architecture because I have a SaaS-based platform that has 350 plus databases, and you can't availability group 350 of them. It would be too much to try to do all of them at once. You can do, I don't know, I've heard 5 to 10 have worked, but if you're talking about that many, it would be very hard to keep up with what it needs to do.
Yeah.
I suppose in 2 or 3 years from now, it'll be really cool.
Even in 2014, they didn't
They're
fix
really
some
nice
stuff.
now. I prefer them over cluster.
I prefer anything over cluster.
Well, you can actually VM a database now easier with availability groups than you could with a failover cluster, just because a lot of the overhead with Windows clustering just wasn't possible VMing, where now it's all just separate instances of SQL Server, so it works really well in a VM environment.
Yeah. Other questions?
I was wondering if anyone else uses file stream.
Ben Miller is your best person to talk about that. I do not use it. I've seen it a little bit in the past, but I know Ben's big on it. He's used it for a couple different things. Actually, I think he put it in place and then took it out. I don't remember, but I know he's done some presentations on it. I haven't used it at all.
He's
Anyone
DBA
else?
Duck on Twitter.
Yeah, DBA.
Has anyone used Azure as, for instance, not as an availability group site to move on to, for instance, as make a copy of the database, like a replica copy?
So the question was, so everybody online here is, have we used Azure? Have you used Azure databases? I have not. I've not played with it at all.
I was just curious.
DR?
As a DR, like a DR site, eventually you want to move the down to data center, but instead of, this is one of the things the company is going through. We got a new CIO, and he is cutting down the DR site, and he's actually suggesting that we move the DR to the cloud. And one of the things for the data warehouse is to actually be on the cloud. I don't have any experience with this or that.
One of the has space limits, and I don't know what the 2012 one was like 128 gigs.
That's the max size?
Yeah, so like,
That's
you have to look to see, I mean, it may be different now, but it was like, that was as big as you could go, and that's one of the, right, but one of the reasons we didn't do it was because it was like, it was too limited, and we couldn't, we couldn't split the database that much, so check that.
I've done it to a colo before, but
Everything is a cloud, it's the new buzzword, so.
It is, but at the same time, I always suggest to people that you should research the cloud. You should look at it as an option, because, I mean, it takes out a lot of the issues that we run into day to day. So it's a really, really good thing, but as Andrea says, you've got to know some of the limitations. Now, if somebody said to me, Azure can't do this, I would say, well, Amazon probably could. So to say you can't do it that way, you could always do it another way through another provider, or just by setting up an entirely a box in Amazon and do it that way, and then use that or something like that. So there's other options as well. I would keep looking at them. I would not just.
And there's cloud providers that will give you a box.
Yeah, exactly.
It's.
Azure will too.
So.
Azure gives you boxes as well too, as if you want them. I mean, they'll even give you Linux or Hadoop nodes as well on Azure, the same thing. So, but definitely keep researching it. But I would, like Andrea said, look up the requirements and the specifics. Just don't be worried if it's not on Azure. You could always go to one of the other cloud providers and do something there too.
So we recently had a group of consultants come in and take a look at our architecture and give us some suggestions. It was AKF. No, they had enough experience that it wasn't just like, hey, here's a guy with a big brain and a big ego. It was, hey, this is what we did for this company, and this worked for them. We see some patterns here, maybe that'll work, and so lots of specific suggestions. One of the ones that they talked about was having multiple read targets so we could kind of balance out the traffic against the database. And it's something that we have not yet implemented because of one of their other suggestions was to cache, the hits against the database, have distributed cache and spread that out. So do you even need it in the database? Is it already in cache? But I think that is something that's worth thinking about if you're doing availability groups as well. So you can leverage that availability group. You've already got a secondary replica. Why not read from it? You're going to have to make sure that your code does that. That's aware of it, that it announces its read intent in the connection string in the appropriate logic. Because you're not going to want to try to write to read only stuff, but you can leverage it for reads.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the cache, because what I do right now, I'm managing a whole team, but one of our goals is to not hit the database. In other words, we're DBAs that are trying not to hit the database at all. In other words, write data to it and pull data from it for a reporting system, but don't actually query it. Use other systems to query it to make the data faster. So we're moving away from using our relational database as our query store, essentially. And so it's something to keep in mind as you move through with distributed caches, with memory, with any of these things. There's faster ways to query your data. There's a lot faster ways. And so you have to keep those in your mind as you go through. distributed cache or memcache or any of the caching systems are all ways that will create a lot faster than what you can in SQL Server.
Can you talk about multiple write targets?
Multiple write targets, in what aspect?
Well, it just seems like that's a common, and I know this is a much bigger question, and you realize it as well. But one of the comments that's frequent is that, hey, I can only write to this one instance of SQL Server, therefore I can only scale up.
Right. And you can't horizontally scale out.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things you can do there, and there's a lot of different ways to talk. Years ago, we had a system that actually would allow us to write to two different places and in parallel wrote to two different ones. And so we actually made our own reporting system over here and kind of a write system over here. And the system itself actually wrote that parallel stream and did its job. That's the only system I've ever seen to do that. And rarely do you see it written in the code that way to do that. Typically what you see now is it hits some sort of point and then something distributes. Like whether that's SSIS that picks up a file and distributes it to multiple places, whether that's a queue, something. The biggest thing you got to concern yourself whenever you're talking about dual write is the system of record. What is the system of record? And what happens when those two are not in sync? Because the first thing you have to say is that whenever you parallel write, something will get out of sync. It's not a if, it's a when. It will happen no matter what. And so you have to be ready in your code and your architecture to handle what happens if this is not there. And so those are the questions you have to start going down that path to talk about. Some of the systems you can use, Kafka and Storm is what we're looking at most recently. Kafka to dump it into a queue and then Storm to write it to multiple different places. SQL Server, you would have to write your code basically to write to two different SQL servers. There is no front SQL Server traffic cop that can do that for you. You would have to program the system to do it. But that's some of the different ideas for the dual write system.
Well, you can do peer-to-peer replication.
Right, yes, you could have replication as well, but it's the same thing there, is that what happens. The nice thing about peer-to-peer replication in SQL Server is that it handles a lot of that for you. It answers those questions, but it also has its own overhead involved with it. And you can't change things, and you've got to be worried about the structure. So whenever you get into a complicated system of dual write, think about all the pieces that are going to change as you go down it. Whether it's peer-to-peer replication, whether it's in your app, whether it's Kafka or something else, a lot of things are going to change about your life or about your system, and it's going to get really complicated. So we actually will probably be going down that path very soon, but it may not be as much a dual write as it is a write to a master system of record and then a write to a read store, and that's it. So we probably will not have two master system of records, which I never suggest to anyone to have two master system of records. The whole reason it's called a master system of record is only have one. But yeah, be careful.
Taking the fun out of it.
Well, hey, you want to make it that complicated, you can make it that complicated. We're trying not to make it that complicated.
So are you delaying those writes then? So you write to other servers and then bring them back, consolidate them?
That would depend on the system that's coming across, the data that's coming across, depending on whether it's real-time, batch, that sort of thing. For us, our plan was to actually process the data and then write it to its master system of record and the read store basically at the same time. Same time being the same parallel. So they would be getting written at the same time. They would process at different paths necessarily and then be written at the same time. Because the most important thing about that master system record is consistency. Whatever reports obviously has to be the same as whatever's in your master system record. So you have to keep those things in place. So yeah, it's not an easy answer. There's no simple answer, and going down a dual write system is never a simple thing. It's very difficult. So it's much easier if you can take one master system of record and replicate it out, and with availability groups or replication or something like that, but that has all of its complexity with it as well. So no simple ways that we do these things.
They're great until they break.
Yeah, well, I would say they're great until you want to change structure for replication, and then the world gets really
log shipping's not better. Log shipping's better for that.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, there's different technologies, but. Okay, any other questions?
Just one quick one.
Yes.
Is anybody using CDC for anything, change data capture?
Anybody using change data capture for anything?
started to.
One behind you is easier. Yeah, we looked at it a few times and never ended up using it. Experiences with it?
We hit RLDP, then we go to SQL Server warehouses to reservation. And then we dump that information into a teaser box.
Oh.
And so we need to use change data capture for that. We are looking to change that from change data capture to change tracking, because CPC does everything. It records everything you do, every row you manipulate, delete, update.
So it's a little too much. Huh?
Yeah, it's too heavy. We don't need to retain the full list that it ever did. We need to retain what was
The last change, right. And for me, that's how I've done all of my data warehouses. I've pulled on last modified date, things like that on the tables to actually pull that data and figure that out. Never use change data capture to actually do it. But
was it for rounds?
yeah, typically I found that when I come into a system, I can usually put on last modified date and maybe an update trigger or something like that to tell when it was modified. And I can use that to figure out what to pull over. Because 9 times out of 10, I don't need, if I have 300 tables on the database, I don't really need to pull all of them into the warehouse necessarily. I need to pull a few. So I focus more on those than putting something like a full change data capture.
What if the row is modified with the same piece of data in a different column?
Say that again.
So what if the row is modified, but the value that is updated is the same value that was there previously?
For me, I would still process it because of the way that I wrote it, but you could change that based on the trigger if you wanted to tell whether it changed.
Check.
You can also use a hash and do it that way.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, there's, I've seen a hash used as well. That's an option too, put a hash onto a column and then have it hashed every time it goes through. Either one is a valuable option. Just depends on what you're using. Okay. No other questions. I think we'll be done for the day. Like I said, if anybody has any other questions, we'll hang around for a little bit, but hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'll come up with a new presentation for February, hopefully to see everybody at Start SLC on January 31st over the weekend. Definitely a great place to see a lot of great events. StartSLC.com. And then if not, I'll see you at SharePoint Saturday or Utah Code Camp coming up on March 14th. Everyone has to attend Utah Code Camp. I mean, come on, let's go. It's the funnest and I'll have the most stuff to give away, right? Okay, thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks, Pat.